You're watching Face to Face, and my name is Tim Vince, your host, and I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Rachel Jordan-Wolff, who is Executive Director of Hope Together. Welcome, Rachel.
Hello, it's a joy to be here with you, Tim.
Amazing, and I'm thrilled because we can talk now about Hope Together. We had a wonderful interview with your predecessor, Roy Crown, so we have great expectations talking to you. Now, before we go into what Hope is doing, I'm not talking about the biblical Hope, but the Hope Together organisation, tell us a bit of your background, Rachel.
Gosh, it's varied. So I've done lots of different mission things, I guess. I've worked with Youth of the Mission, YWAM, in the red light district of Amsterdam, where I helped people who were both prostitutes or people without homes, homeless. So that's one place where I've worked. That's sort of one extreme. I've done a PhD at King's College London. That's kind of the other extreme. I've been the national lead for Mission Evangelism for the Church of England. That was working, if you like, centrally, but across the country, like a sort of bird's eye view, vision, strategy. And now I lead Hope Together. Yeah,
and the Church of England role would have been quite closely connected to Hope Together.
Yes, so what I discovered was, as one person in the middle of, if you like, the middle of the kind of machine of the Church of England, which is like it's like a mighty steamer, isn't it? It's like a huge boat. It moves slow, it can't go at speed. That I found it was really helpful to go and work with Hope Together, where things were like a speedboat in comparison. You could do things small but at speed, and then you could bring that back into the heart of the Church of England. And so I found that relationship worked really, really well for me.
Yeah. So I'm really interested, especially because I'm thinking of Roy and a comment he made about how social action, has been separated from the gospel and mission. And you're an expert on mission. And then I asked him, how do you measure the outcomes? And he said, well, just very humbly, he said, well, street pastors came out of it, and food banks. That sort of answers the question, doesn't it? In your role in motivating churches to get involved in mission, what do you look for in terms of input and outcomes?
Input and outcomes. So we look for the number of people who might pick up on something that we're doing and then put that into action. So that's really what Roy's saying, isn't it, with like food banks or with street pastors. So if you like, we can be a catalyst. We're often not necessarily inventing something. We might find something that someone's doing and then be able to accelerate the spread of that, which is what happened with street pastors. So we sometimes that's what we're doing. And the other thing that we often do is we're resourcing local churches in a really, I was going to say almost a physical manner. We're giving them something that they can actually maybe give out that helps. So we know a lot from research that we've done, things that help different people come to faith and at what junction they might come to faith. And so we try to, if you like, target what we do in resources to help a local church to be at its best to help people to actually come to faith. So, for example, we know that the Bible is key and influential. So 24% of us...
I'm relieved to hear that.
Yeah, I know.
So the Bible does have something to do with what you're involved
but do you know what's so interesting is that people look a little shocked. Because I think often, like for evangelism, we're looking for a thing, a new thing. And actually, when you explain to people that the second biggest influence on bringing us to faith is the Bible, people look a little bit like, oh. But when you think about it, when you read the Bible for yourself, or I read the Bible for myself, I get transformed by the power of God, because He speaks on His own terms. So one of our things is, how can we get that out to as many people as possible? And so we've got a couple of projects that we work really closely with Biblica, who are wonderful and work with us from the NIV, and we work with them to get the Bible into the hands of people who can get the Bible into the hands of people who don't yet know Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, that would be an example.
So they were the American Bible Society, wasn't it? The New International
Something like that, yeah. They basically own the translation.
That's right.
And so they are able to gift us that. So they can gift us the translation because we are able to get that out en masse through the local churches.
So talking about the Bible, it definitely worked for me. And and this idea of how do you get it out to this wider secular public? And I must say, every now and again I'm caught walking down the street holding my Bible, And the reaction of people I've found is sort of fearful. That they'll see this and they'll think, "What's that you're carrying?" And and I just wonder whether you're using innovative ways to try and break through that barrier of sort of lack of what's the word? A kind of religious literacy. They'll see something and think, "Well, that's extremist."
Yes.
How do you break through that barrier?
Basically, one of the things that we can.
By the way, I'm a bit of an extremist.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So. Love research. So we worked with YWAM Youth for Mission. They sent lots of teams out on the streets with a whole set of different Bibles. I helped them draw up the questions because love research, where they were asking people, read this translation, that translation, that translation. Have you got a Bible? Have you read the Bible? Do you know anything about the Bible? What do you think about the Bible? And doing all this with people, and what they found mattered. So, what Bible would you read if you were going to read the Bible? And they discovered that actually the design mattered.
Yeah.
Because of course, especially with the younger generation, this is like a fifth language. It's like another language, isn't it? Yeah. So you could give the Bible to people in another language that they cannot read. And often we do that because if you give a cheap looking sort of curly papered, gone damp in the corner of the church gospel to somebody, what that tells, particularly a younger generation, is that this is of no value.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, because it's a language, if you valued it, it would look amazing and it would be appealing. So we've created beautifully appealing both Luke and Mark's Gospels in partnership with Biblica. And they are stunning, and they are beautifully pictures all the way through. They look like the thing that you would have right here on a coffee table, and you'd be proud of it. Yeah. And someone would actually be drawn to it and pick it up, not knowing quite what it was.
Yeah, very good.
And we find that people will pick those up. They want that. They are drawn to it, and they'll be very proud to walk down the street with it. They can read it on the tube. No one's going to back off because it looks like a quality magazine. And then we sell them almost print cost, like absolutely at the bottom layer when people will buy 100 of them. And they're going, I've given them out in our church. I gave them out at Easter to people as they walked out the door after the Easter services. I chatted to people, have you ever read the life of Jesus? The historical life events of Jesus? And they'll be like, no, never. Well, look, can I give you this gift? None of them went, oh my word, loony woman. They all went, oh wow, because it looked beautiful.
Well done.
She's giving me an Easter gift.
Excellent.
Same at Christmas. I think, so in our church, I'm married to a vicar. We gave out, we had 500 at Christmas. I brought in a whole pile for Easter, and people take it away.
Excellent.
And it's not going in the bin because it looks too good for that.
No, that's really good. Along that same theme, especially with kids in the digital generation, it's really, I'm not sure the church has fully cracked how to break into that world with things that are quality, that work, that are interactive. Are there any plans?
Yeah, so again, Luke and Mark both have a digital companion. Okay. So they're both online. So the same design criteria is on there. You can choose the voice you listen to. And what we've done is to help churches to get people to the digital, just beautifully designed postcards. Again, nice feel to the postcard, so that you can just leave a post, so people can pick up a postcard. We've now got into QR codes because of COVID, haven't we? Yeah. Now we know what to do with them. So it's a QR code that leads you to an online version of either Luke or Mark. So that is helping people again. If they don't want to take the whole thing, they can take the postcard and they can go and they can listen to the Bible.
Get it online.
They can get
and
it online.
And you work with thousands of churches.
Yes.
Is that like a big database?
Yeah,
and you just notify them of what the latest project is?
Just had to. We got a really, really good digital comms lead. She's amazing, Rachel, on our team. And so just e-news, e-shot, again, too busy to read generation. People don't like lots of words. They just want to know what it is, why it is, why they should do this, really clearly. And then they can find it and they go, oh, great, that's a really good idea. Yeah, we'll do that. That's good. Or I like that. I don't like that.
Is it fair to say that people are attracted more towards sort of contentious things and controversy? How do you grab their attention? Because kids, they're scrolling. I see them. They're scrolling through thousands of things every day.
This is not. So our e-news everything is going to church leaders and what I called mission enthusiasts. Yeah. When you are dealing with, I think, the biggest way that you will reach, say for example, a young adult, is through the young adult sitting next to them.
Yeah.
That's the honest. So again, data, we did Talking Jesus, we did it with a big partnership, other organisations helped, it was fantastic. There's 6 organisations behind it this time in 2022. It's fantastic research, and if you've not read it, or you can I've got a 10-minute summary, that's all you need to watch, which is on YouTube, which you can just to get the summary headlines. But this is about what's happening now, what people outside the church think about us, much more positive than you imagine. But the big thing that matters, if you're not brought up in a Christian family, the next most important thing is your friend. Yeah. And if you notice how many of us and how many people have come through because a friend talked to them or a friend asked them, if they haven't got a friend...
My mum, for instance.
Yes.
I was just, because we did a programme on Billy Graham a while ago, and she said, well, I went to a Billy Graham rally, in the 50s at Haringey, and when I came up from, the going forwards, as it were, I came back to my chair, there was a girl from her school who she'd hardly interacted with, who came up to her and said, I've been praying for you for years. And, the influence of Christians on their peers
so
is
important.
a key area.
It's completely key. And it's particularly, if you notice it again in the research, like when I look at the data tables, there is a really peer-to-peer link. So we are most influential amongst our peers. It's not that we can't help or reach people of other generations, but often it's because our key relationships are around in that factor. So it's particularly amongst our peers. A lot of people might be invited in because their friend invited them to church. So that's where there's a lot happening. But we also noticed in the research that some practicing Christians, like about 40% of them, are saying, I just don't know any non-Christians well enough to either talk to them about my faith or invite them along to anything. And that's, I think,
that's difficult.
That's difficult, and that's to do with we've lost. So we can see since 2015 to 2020, we can see we've lost some of our reach as a church, because COVID shrunk our worlds. We got living in smaller bubbles. Yeah. We extended our reach with our neighbours. I can see that in the data, but we lost quite a bit of our other reach. Has just disappeared because we've almost like the push to go inside and close off some of our links was a legal requirement. The push to get people back out again is not a legal requirement. And so some people have got stuck in. So as churches, we've had to sort of put inhabit into the strategy. Where could you go and inhabit? Who could you get to know? Making the most of the connections when you do see someone, you think, oh, actually, I could build on that connection. I need to lift going for a cup of tea with that person above all the other priorities, which I find really difficult. Nothing like being married into the church, that you end up with so many church relationships. Yeah. So you actually have to really prioritise people who don't yet know Jesus.
And you mentioned family, so that's
yes,
the top.
That's top.
I often think about the fact that people who serve the Lord sometimes can neglect their own families. Yeah. And in one sense, we're almost talking business language here, your existing customers are the people you should at least retain.
Yes.
Because the cost of finding new customers is sort of 10 or 20 times more to do all the marketing, to try and do a cold calling and find new people. So how is that going? Has that shifted? So it's still the primary routes through which people come to faith, but is it declining or is it holding? The
church is holding.
Yeah.
So that's another...
No, I was thinking of the family. We couldn't quite remember the exact statistics, but is Bible taking over from family?
No. Church family is still really big, and that's partly, I'm going to tell you another interesting stat here. So church, your Christian family is still really big. It's around 34%. Then it's Bible. But this is with all of us at whatever age we came to faith. Yeah. And that's because the majority of us come to faith before age 18. Yeah. And that shows you the real impact of Christian family. So most of us who are practicing active Christians today came to faith under the age of 18, and that is the influence of our Christian family, the amazing discipleship in our churches, our kids' work, our children's work. Many of us... Prayer. Yeah, don't forget prayer. Many of us came to faith really young. Yeah. When we were really, really young. That would be me. I don't even know the age at which I came to faith. Yeah. But, so there's 2 interesting facts I'm going to do. So that's number 1. If you break the data at age 18 and then look at how adults come to faith, things fall out differently. Yeah. And a lot of what we're trying to do is actually bring adults to faith. If you talk to someone in a church, who the church is imagining they're going to reach, there are often people who are over the age of 18. That's mostly their strategy. And the number one factor that brings someone who's over 18 to faith, are you ready, is a life event.
Wow.
So that's something that has, if you like, I call it wobbled their world. They were walking along, living life as they wanted to live it, and then something wobbled their world. Now, it can be positive or negative, but at that junction, they will begin to re-examine what they think and believe.
Because there's a lot of wobbles going on in the world today.
That's it, Tim. You have nailed it.
Great opportunity.
That is why in 2022...
Can I get a job?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You're in. You're in. More people in 2022 want to know about Jesus than they did in 2015. More adults want to find out more. They either want to know more about Jesus or they want to experience him for themselves. So in 2015, if I'd been talking to you and you weren't a Christian, I'd have about a 1 in 5 chance that you wanted to know more about Jesus as a non-Christian. It's now 1 in 3. And I'd have about a 1 in 5 chance that you wanted...
That's a big shift.
Yeah, that you wanted to experience Jesus. It's now 1 in 3. We've had a pandemic, war in Ukraine, an economic crisis, loads of strikes. People are really uncertain about the world that they're living in. And what that has done is made the biggest opening we have is now. So that's why, I mean, I think there's even more people who come into Easter.
And the social media revolution, so, you know, trust in the institutions of the media has... So people are literally in flux, aren't they?
They're in flux, and that's why, so we're doing a year of mission, and that's what we're calling all the churches across all the denominations to have a united year of mission starting September 23 through to September 24. And we would love you, or if you're watching, we'd love you to join us specifically for that year of mission. And it's not because we're like, we know everyone's a bit tired themselves, because we've all lived through the trauma. But it is the very fact that we've been through this that more people
This was joining you via a church that has a Hope Together flag somewhere.
Yeah, Hope Together flag. We're going to do something really big for Easter 24.
Okay.
You don't want to miss it.
No.
A huge campaign on whether Jesus is dead or alive, both by, you're allowed to chalk the pavements. Keep that quiet. But you're allowed to chalk the pavements. We'll be doing a digital campaign, just to, if you like, then get that into a digital campaign that then goes to an alive series.
Well, Banksy's done quite well, hasn't he?
He has.
So, you know, if...
We won't be doing it with permanent paint. We're not going to be doing... It's like, it's all... When you do, like, chalk on it washes away.
That's true.
So it's legally allowed. You're allowed to put chalk on the pavement because it washes away. It's all eco-friendly. And but it would stop people...
Folks love a bit of graffiti nowadays.
That's
you can... There was one down in Margate near to us where it sold for 600,000.
Well, I hadn't
a wife
thought
in
of
her
this,
50,
Tim.
in the 1950s, throwing her husband into a freezer, and it just became a sensation. People love something out of the ordinary.
Great. Well, it could be a new funding campaign. No, we probably won't go down. It's good. It's a good idea. But it's basically, if you walked over that 5 times in your day, you would find out what it was, and you'd use your phone, and you'd want to know what that was, and then it's like the question about Jesus. And that's also because of one of the huge statistics in Talking Jesus is that 45%...
So what exactly are you writing on, or are you encouraging to
It'll
write
be hashtag dead or alive ?
Okay, that's good.
It's just asking the question, dead or alive. Are you talking about me? Are you talking about someone else?
I did a university mission once where we just had a telephone that we posted. It was just a picture of a red telephone everywhere around the college, our campus, and then everyone was asking about it. And then we put "It's for you," which was the TV ad.
Nice.
And then we said, "Oh, it's our mission. It's the Christian Union," and we had a lot of people turn up. So you want to sort of plan it, which
We're just doing it. We're doing exactly. No. We're doing
do.
exactly that, Tim. But trying to do it on a national scale. And I've had really excited people saying, "Yeah, I can. This city, we can do it. All the church leaders, we get on. We know each other. We pray together. We can do that city.
Excellent.
We could make that happen on a citywide thing. So we're like, great. So wherever you are, city, village, town, if you're in an area of outstanding natural beauty, you can give out a flyer. It's okay. But it's basically if we could do that if we can all do it on a big enough scale, that then pushes up to people. Then you're disrupting their.
At the very least, there will be no excuse. People say, "Oh, I never knew, anything about it."
Yeah.
You're literally putting it, which is a challenge, isn't it? For the church, is breaking out of the walls and reaching
That's
society.
exactly it.
Yeah.
So that's Easter 24. Okay. There's an amazing series on the resurrection appearances of Jesus and how he transformed all the individuals that he met. And then so the invitation, once you've got from dead or alive, is, are you dead or alive?
Yeah, very good.
And if you want to be fully alive, these are the people who became fully alive, and this is how they met the resurrected Jesus.
And Malcolm Muggeridge, I think, said that only dead fish swim with the stream.
Yeah.
So you're challenging people to, literally stop, just going through the rat race, getting caught up on train strikes and things.
Yeah. And the Alive series would be run in any local church. Any local church who wants to run it can run it, and therefore we could be connecting people, find the Alive series in a local church. Excellent. So that we're going from a campaign, also a digital campaign, to a local church. So we're really excited. Yeah. And we absolutely know from the research that people are open. And so now is that moment to do something together. Yeah. And to
just remind us, Rachel, I think it's just hopetogether.org. Folks will find all of that.
Yeah, you can find everything on our website. Yeah. Come and have a look. Come and join our e-news. I know you've got 1,000 emails in your inbox, but ours is worth having because it will you don't have to do everything, but at least you can make sure that you're finding out if there's something big that's happening and you want to be a part of it. And if people want to help people to find Jesus, then that's what we're about. We want everyone everywhere to know Jesus. Yeah. And we want to do it together.
And I've got friends and family, in the younger generation in universities, and they're saying folks are much more open to hear, to inquire, to find out, and
and
maybe
we need
they were
to
in my
that.
generation.
It's true, they are more open. Yeah. They're way more open because they haven't really been put off church because they never went to church. Yeah. So they're not reacting against something. They're just like, we don't know. Tell me about this. It's like when I'm standing there literally giving out I stood at the back giving out the Luke's Gospels, Easter Sunday, as the first people who run out the door are all the people who visited. Standing there, hello, have you read the life of Jesus? No, read this, it will change your life. And they look at you and go, wow, okay, thank you. But they don't look at you like, wow, you're mad. I mean, I know they've come to church, so they've got an interest. But even on the streets, YWAM found that people really wanted a copy of the Bible. They wanted to read about Jesus. They wanted it to find out for themselves. I was chatting to a guy on a train who was he'd have been 23, he was a student, and he was like, actually, I need to work this out for myself. I need to do this. So I gave him a postcard because he was,
Is it fair to say that you're sort of targeting the floating voters rather than the sort of militant atheist antagonists?
Yeah, there's not so many. Yeah, I would say that's the best place to start.
That's a specialist calling, isn't it, to try and deal with that?
It is, but do you know what? It's really interesting. Again, this is anecdote, not research. Sure. Yeah. But I found that the children of atheists are coming to faith. Okay. So in our church, the people that we are seeing come to faith and be baptised are the children of atheists or agnostics. Yeah. So that's been really interesting to me that I've noted it when they've said, my parents were this, but I'm this. I've decided. So that's quite interesting to me that they're not actually following their parents.
Because they've become such a big church, as it were. They've got their own challenges in retaining the next generation.
Yeah, they have.
So it's all up for grabs.
It is, and I do think the younger generation they want to examine. They want to find out, does it work? They want to experience, and they are very open, and they're still in. Sort of up to age 25. I know I said 18, but up to age 20, people are still working out what they think. So you still have that opportunity. It's not that people don't come to faith later in life. We've got evidence that they do. They do come to faith.
Now let's just drill. We've got just a few minutes left, and I'm going to do something naughty.
Yes.
What is the key message? I mean, we can talk generally. Oh yeah, it's been nice to have a Bible, and nice to hear about Jesus. What is the key message that will get someone over the line? And we talk about coming to faith. What is it?
One of them is asking them. So I want to do two things. So I'll say one of them is asking them. We do have to give people the opportunity to walk over the line. So in our services, we need to be regularly asking people, would you like to come to faith and do it today? Because people can float along in that fudge category, not knowing. And you never know when those people, I mean, actually...
And the old adage, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly. So I do think, and again, when we're doing one-on-one, talking to someone, would you like to come to faith? Do you want to follow Jesus? Let me tell you how. This is how to pray. Pray this with me. Great. Now we're going to bring you on that journey. Because I think we forget that. We're all got a bit floaty. Come on, maybe another 6 weeks of something. We do need to ask. And the other one is that for all of us, we're partnering with TKC, Thy Kingdom Come Again. Pray for 5. That came out of the 2015 research, but we don't want to lower it to pray for 3. Pray for 5. So who are the 5 people that you are praying for that don't know Jesus? Yeah. And who are the 5 people that I am praying for that don't know Jesus? Now, if we all do that, and we concentrate on our 5, you can see, say we all brought 1 to faith, we would be in a different place.
That's true. It would go exponential.
It would go exponentially. So that's my challenge to each of us who's watching. Who are your 5? And if you don't know 5, maybe it's time to start a new club. Go inhabit a new space and get to know some new people.
Yeah. Come out of your caves, as T.D. Jakes would say.
Yeah.
But the message is, in terms of coming to Jesus, knowing Jesus, having a relationship with him, do you specify the routes? Because people come through different routes, don't they?
I don't think we specify the route.
The point of repentance, forgiveness, salvation.
Yeah, all of that, and explaining to people what that means, because those words are big words. What does repentance mean?
Exactly.
Basically, in today's world, giving up the cult of secular individualism, which most of us are in, and deciding to put, it's very apt with the coronation. We're doing a beautiful crowned King Matthew's coronation, putting King Jesus in that place. That is the biggest challenge in our culture at the moment, is that we are in the cult of secular individualism, which is me, me, me. And actually what we're saying when we say come to faith in Jesus is me, Jesus. And that's what repentance is. I'm turning away from living life my way, and I've decided to follow the way of Jesus. And it's extremely challenging. And then begins the journey of discipleship, doesn't it? Of helping people who've been actually discipled into the culture of secular individualism, which is an extreme cult that we are all in, to be discipled to the other.
Fantastic timing, Rachel. So it's absolutely brilliant sweep through what you're doing. And all I can say is thank you very much, Dr. Rachel Jordan-Wolff, and thank you. You've been watching Face to Face.